What's good, nerds? My name is Tyler, and welcome to the first episode of Rusty Flagon Crafts. This video also happens to be the first episode of a series entitled Tales from the Tavern. So the basic idea here is we're going to print, build, assemble, and base a 28mm scale miniature for a homebrew D&D campaign, while introducing that character in the world they populate through story. If that sounds like something you're interested in, I would greatly appreciate you consider subscribing and dinging that bell. Due to real life and work being kind of crazy right now, I probably won't upload super regular, but when I do, bam, that notify bell will let you know, and you can watch the video or whatever you want to do, or just dismiss it. Okay, well, anyway, today's miniature comes from Thingiverse, from the creator on Emoji. We are not sponsored in any way by them. I just think it's a really cool miniature with a reasonable amount of detail. They included on their page that they also dreamed to see the models painted. I got you, bro. Let's do this. It's a great sculpt. It's got a great pose. My only real complaint is this thick girl sword he's repping. It's kind of more of like a demon bopper than a blade. Or maybe something else, but I mean, I guess I kind of get it. Thin swords break easy. This thing is tabletop proof. Kids exist. Pets exist. So before we dive right into the story, let's talk about what and how I'm painting here. So this model was printed on an Anycubic Photon Mono 4K. It cost me about 3 nickels worth of Elegoo ABS-like resin. Basing is as simple as super glue and Jiffy seed starter potting mix. I know, right? It actually works. It has coconut fiber in it and other little bits, adds great texture, and just kind of works. For the paint job, we are using Vallejo Game Color Metallics, pretty heavy here. They are a little glossy for my taste, but we're going to hit them at the end with some ultra matte varnish to knock down that sheen a little. I go back and forth on my colors a bunch. I utilize a lot of wet blending in some areas, so I apologize for jumping around, but if something doesn't look right to me, I kind of fix it on the spot rather than try to go back to it later, because I'll usually forget it. Plus, I find it easier to fix mistakes if you save certain steps like highlighting and, washing for later once you have all your base coats down. So, without further ado, I present to you the story of Argor the Paladin. The insidious crackle of a dwindling fire is the only audible sound, save the shallow breathing and gentle clinking of a well-worn set of plate. Behind this majestic carapace of steel and gold stares the eyes of a man whose resolve is absolute and unbreakable. This man is Argor Proudfist, captain of Lord Alessan's Guard and paladin of the light. But in a sudden instant, as when waking from a daydream, this stoic resilience was replaced by confusion and horror. Where am I? A solitary thought pierced the confusion. Looking down, all that could be seen was a dingy, nay decrepit campfire emitting a warm but faint orange glow. The fallen leaves and twigs lay scattered across the perfect mud that seems to be lacking all telltale signs of animal or insect life. The air smelled too clean, and sterile stagnation would be an appropriate phrase. What seemed like 20 feet away, all around in a circle, the forest began. Majestic tree trunks rose up from the mud and vanished into a black, starless sky. Argor was alone in an inky abyss of trees. There was no sun to mark the morning, nor moon to bid the day farewell, nor stars to navigate by. Outside of the pathetic glow of immolating twigs, all there was nothingness, save the trees, too tall to distinguish leaf or branch. Perhaps 15 minutes passed, perhaps a week. Either way, the duration felt closer to a month. Then it started. From perched on a mossy log, Argor rose to his feet as a slight breeze caressed his face for the first time since awaking in this eldritch place. Tree leaves began to rustle out of sight as the wind picked up in intensity. Fear arose on Argor's face as the fire spit and spat, threatening to go out should a strong wind will it. Just then, in a clearing some 10 feet away, a ripple of blackness began to distort the tree line, as if pulling aside a wall tapestry. But the tapestry was reality itself. Black miasma oozed from the aperture. What followed was a guttural neigh, demonic hum that lasted for what seemed like hours. But once again, time was imperceptible. The rumble pierced Argor's ears as he screamed. Then out of nowhere, Argor's face changed from that of fear to of rage, and upon drawing his blade, he uttered in complete confidence, "By the light, I will not falter!" Just then, the fire roared up as if fueled by his very emotions. After a short while, the aperture closed, and he was once again left alone in the inky nothingness. This pattern continued cyclically several times for what seemed like eternity. Each time, Argor's resolve would get stronger. The fire would burn brighter. The miasmic void would appear deeper. After the fourth cycle, he vowed to leave this accursed woods. He set off in as straight a path as he could manage, always watching the fire behind him. It wasn't far before the sight of illumination behind him had vanished. He pressed on through complete darkness, feeling for trees as he walked slowly. After a short while, a new illumination began a ways ahead in the distance. Being now drawn to the new light with such vigor as he has never felt, he pressed on. Eventually, the illumination could be made out to be a small campfire, suspiciously similar to the one he had recently parted with. Argor kept pressing until he had come upon the familiar clearing, illuminated by the same fire he had befriended through his existence in this void. He matched in astonishment his own boot print to the existing print in the muddy earth. Disbelief mixed with anger arose in Argor. Argor unsheathed his once brilliant, now tarnished blade and thrust it deep into the earth, and took off at a full sprint in a direction from whence he came. After making his way through the trees, he arrived back at the fire as expected. The blade was right where he left it. Additionally, it was accompanied by a new set of footprints leading away from the fire perfectly opposite to his angle of entry. He then returned to his log for contemplation of the matter. No matter how hard he tried to recall his existence before this time, he could not do so. He remembered every detail of this place. From the first cycle to now, however, who he was, what he had done, and most importantly, why he was here, had all eluded him. Another cycle, still, the void grew larger each time. This cycle, however, something new happened. Argor believed he could make out a faint light source off in the distance. He feared the implications. Another cycle, the void was even larger. Argor could very clearly see a silhouette of a man off in the distance, sitting on a log by a small campfire. To his dismay, upon raising his hand, the distant figure mimicked the action as if in a mirror. Looking around, he noted other gaps in trees produced similar visions. This place was shrinking. Two more cycles passed. Time was meaningless. Perhaps seconds passed between cycles, perhaps months. It felt like eons. The trees were gone now, repeating into infinity every conceivable direction. Separated by twice the width of the clearing was a fire, and Argor sitting on a log by that fire. Inevitably, the events reached a point where Argor stands next to the fire, immediately adjacent to a million other Argors, all in perfect synchronicity. There it was. There was nowhere to stand now. The void would be the size of his area. He could not get away this time. The hum began. The ripple started to tear immediately over the fire. Argor clutched his holy symbol in one hand, blade in the other, and steeled his will. The overcoming darkness happened faster than expected. However, in even more amazement, there was light. Argor was no longer in a forest, but rather in a well-lit cave. He stood up proud and looked around as his memory slowly returned to him. Dead on the stone, in front of him lay the corpse of a beholder, freshly slain. "Sir, you made it back!" A timid voice cried out from far behind. Argor turned around to see his party of adventurers. "Where was I? What was that place?" Argor muttered. The cleric Nara walked forward and explained to Argor that in events like these, there are temporal distortions present. Distortions that alter the waves of things like light or sound, darkening and deepening. "We called to you, but chances were it was distorted. Not many people make it out of these events as unscathed as you. The light must have been strong with you indeed, even in that dark place. For you see," Nara spoke in a sympathetic voice to a confused man, "that beholder knew how to cast banishment." And that's Argor the Paladin. The paint job is nothing special, but I think it looks okay on the table, from like 3 feet away when you squint. But it's fine, because I honestly had a blast painting this little booger. Picking out that gold trim was super satisfying, and when the wash hit, oh man, you just instant HD, bro. Now, I should have either tested that orange at the end before I sprayed it, or like maybe thinned it for less opacity. Vallejo Orange Fire turns out a little yellow for my liking, but some darker orange or red in the mix might have darkened it to where like it felt a little more like fire, but I mean, I kind of digress. Honestly, I'm not sure if it ruined it, but what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. I didn't really add any tutorial elements in this video because I wanted it to be more focused on the lore than the actual mechanical paint job. There's plenty of videos out there that show you how to slap paint on something followed by a wash followed by highlights. Not all Rusty Flagon videos will be in this format. I'll make plenty of tutorials, reviews, quick tips, and other challenge style videos, we'll call them, as time goes on, but I mean, do you guys want to see more content like this? I have an entire world worth of lore, history, stories, and supplemental information about the world of Sartharia, its political workings, the imminent war on Ravenwood, the creature of Osberg Reservoir, plus, I mean, a whole party of adventurers we haven't even met. While you're down there in the comments, if you found yourself entertained, give that thumbs up a smash. The more I get, the more likely I am to upload future content. Now, I want you guys to have a great day, and remember that when life seems its darkest, always stand by what you believe in, and you'll find your way out. We're all done here, so let's roll those money shots.